A voice thundered like an earthquake. And yet, it moves. One sentence. One whisper. And the world trembled. A man dared to say, in the 1600s, that Earth moves around the sun. At a time when this truth was punishable by death. He was not a king. Not a warrior. He was a scientist. A man with a telescope. A man with questions. And the courage to challenge the heavens. They called him mad. They called him heretic. They blinded him, broke him, and buried his words. But truth never dies. This is the story of Galileo Galilei. A rebel of the skies. The father of modern science. And a lone soul who dared to read the stars, year 1564. Pisa, Italy. A small town. A small house. Born into a modest but educated family, a boy named Galileo arrived into the world. His father was a musician and mathematician, strict, yet curious. He wanted his son to become a doctor. But young Galileo's heart beat for something else. Even as a child, Galileo looked at the world differently. One day, in the Grand Cathedral of Pisa, he noticed something others didn't. A lamp, swinging from the ceiling. Everyone passed by it. But Galileo stood still. He watched. He measured its rhythm against his own pulse. And thus, the first seeds of pendulum motion were born. He was just a boy. But he saw questions where others saw routine. Galileo entered the University of Pisa to study medicine. But he couldn't ignore his true love, mathematics, physics, astronomy. At the university, he rebelled. Professors quoted Aristotle blindly. But Galileo asked, "Where's the proof?" He believed nothing unless it was tested, observed, and proven. One day, he climbed the Leaning Tower of Pisa. With 2 balls of different weights in hand. He dropped them simultaneously. They hit the ground, at the same time. Gravity had no favorites. Centuries before Newton, Galileo had glimpsed the truth. Then came the night he built his own telescope. Pointed it at the heavens. And what he saw changed everything. Craters on the moon. Moons orbiting Jupiter. Sunspots. And then, his most dangerous discovery. The Earth revolves around the sun. Not the center of the universe. Not God's perfect creation. The church was furious. But Galileo, he was just getting started. Galileo's truth became a threat to power. The Catholic Church, the most powerful institution of the time, saw it as heresy. He was summoned. Accused. Tried. They said, "Take back your words. Or burn at the stake." In front of the entire world, they forced him to kneel. He whispered, "I recant." But as he walked away, under his breath, he said, "And yet, it moves." Galileo was sentenced to house arrest. His books were banned. His telescopes taken away. And the worst punishment of all. He went blind. The man who once read the stars was now trapped in darkness. He was alone. Exiled. Forgotten by the world he tried to enlighten. Even in confinement. Galileo wrote. He dictated one of his greatest works. Dialogue concerning the 2 chief world systems. It was not just a book. It was a declaration of war against ignorance. He introduced a new method to the world. Observe. Experiment. Question. Repeat. While he lived in shadows, his words traveled across Europe. Young minds lit up with fire. His discoveries inspired giants like Kepler, Newton, and Einstein. Though blind, he gave others the vision to see. The church may have silenced his voice. But they could never kill his truth. Today, Galileo is remembered as the father of modern science. He didn't just change astronomy. He changed how we understand the universe. He taught us that truth is not what authority says, but what nature reveals. But here's what few people know. 359 years after his death, the Vatican officially apologized. the same institution that silenced him, admitted he was right. Galileo's DNA was even sent into space on NASA missions. So the man who stared at stars now travels among them. Galileo's story is not just about science. It's about courage. About facing the fire for what you believe. About walking alone, even when the world mocks you. He didn't have armies. He didn't have wealth. He had a telescope and a fearless mind. Because of him, we look at the night sky not with fear, but with wonder. Every time someone lifts a telescope toward the stars, a silent tribute is paid to Galileo Galilei, the man who gave us back the universe, by standing up even when it meant falling.